What if I told you you could make 3 carnivore soups so rich and satisfying that you will forget it's even winter? Most people on this diet end up eating the same dry meals all season, and that's exactly why they quit. But these soups are warm, high fat, and just feel like comfort in a bowl. And I will show you how to make each one of them, with some extra tips and tricks from subscribers of this channel. By the end, you will know exactly which soup will get you through winter without missing carbs once. Ready to make the carnivore diet actually fun and totally simple? Welcome to Meet Carnivore. You are at the place that completely ditches the boring diet rules and just gives you the good stuff. It doesn't matter if you're a strict carnivore or just testing out low-carb waters. We focus on food that tastes great and gets you results. Let's get this cooking started. Alright, if there is one recipe that instantly wraps me up in a warm hug, it's this soup. This simple, deeply satisfying meatball soup is the ultimate cozy comfort food. The kind of a dish that fixes a bad day. It's quick, it's carnivore friendly, and it's delicious. To build this bowl of bliss, we are starting with 250 grams of ground beef, 3 total eggs, about 100 grams of cream cheese, a few strips of bacon, 400 milliliters of water, and the rich foundation of 300 milliliters of my homemade bone broth. Speaking of the broth, if you want that recipe, the link is in the description. We start the meatballs by cracking just 1 egg right into the ground beef. The other 2, we need them hard-boiled. I just threw mine in the air fryer for a quick set, but honestly, you do you. Whatever is fastest is fine by me. Now let's get messy. I mix the egg and the ground beef by hand, working it really through. You are looking for that moment when the egg is completely absorbed and the mix becomes a smooth, uniform paste. Don't be shy about getting your hands in there. Time to form the stars of the show. You can make these any size, but I'm shooting for about a teaspoon of beef per meatball. Ideally, they would be smaller, but hey, I lack the patience, and that's okay. My personal technique? I use 3 fingers, pretending that I'm some sort of a weird crab, just grabbing and rolling until I get a rough ball shape. With the meatballs ready, we are adding the 400 milliliters of cold water to the pot. Into that, we immediately drop in 2 of my frozen broth sticks, about 300 milliliters, so they can slowly melt and infuse the water. If you don't have homemade broth and you don't want to make some, you can easily grab a good carnivore-friendly broth from Kettle and Fire. Link in the description, you know how it goes. Normally, you would wait for a full boil, but the water was already steaming, so I jumped the gun a bit. I use a spoon to gently lower the meatballs into the water, trying my best not to splash, which is a constant battle. I'm also adding more than half of the cream cheese now, letting it melt into the liquid, plus a few pinches of salt. This is how my grandma made it. If you're someone who doesn't like the texture of boiled meat, no worries. You can cook them in bacon fat first and add them later. Now it's time for the bacon. Mine came frozen from an online order, so I decided to chop up the whole 100 grams into small pieces. Since it was nice and fatty, I scooped some of that fat out first just to grease the pan, then tossed the rest of the pieces in. The soup is starting to boil nicely, so I'm turning the heat down and setting a timer for exactly 10 minutes. That's plenty of time for these meatballs to cook through. While the soup simmers, let's deal with the eggs. I peel the first one and simply cut it neatly in half. For the second egg, I bring out the heavy equipment, my Egg Smasher 3000 or whatever you call that tool, to get those small perfect cubes. I set them aside while we wait out the clock. With 2 minutes left, I add the rest of the cream cheese for a final dose of creaminess. Then comes the most important moment. A small sip to check the salt level. It's perfect. After letting the soup rest for a minute or two, it's time to build the bowl. I ladle in a generous portion of that creamy broth and all the meatballs. Then it's all about the toppings. I arrange the 2 perfect egg halves, sprinkle in those egg cubes, and top the whole thing off with a mountain of that crispy bacon. It's absolutely amazing. I love this soup. Alright, if this cozy classic hit the spot, you are going to absolutely lose it over the next recipe we're making. The ultra rich, creamy, and wonderfully lazy cheeseburger soup. Once you taste this, you will wonder why you didn't try it sooner. It hits every craving you have for a cheeseburger, but you can eat it with a spoon. This is the ultimate comfort food. For 2 generous servings, you will need 500 grams of ground beef, 250 milliliters of heavy cream, 100 grams of soft cream cheese, which is about half of a standard pack, 100 grams of shredded cheddar cheese, and cheddar works perfectly for that classic burger flavor, and a handful of pork rinds. We start the fun by adding a bit of butter to the pot. It's completely optional, but why wouldn't you? It just adds that little extra depth of fat and flavor right at the start. Once the butter melts, add your ground beef and cook it over medium heat until it's beautifully browned and broken up. This is your cheesy, beefy base, so take your time and listen to that satisfying sizzle. You want all those brown bits of flavor sticking to the bottom. Once the beef is fully cooked, it's time to stir in the cream cheese. Let it fully melt down and mix in with the beef. You want this to disappear completely into the mixture. Next, add the shredded cheddar. Stir until the whole thing is thick, smooth, and incredibly creamy. It should already start to smell exactly like a bacon cheeseburger. Now, pour in your heavy cream and bring everything to a gentle simmer. This is where you decide your desired thickness. If you want a thinner, more summery soup, which is what I was making in the video, you can add about 100 milliliters or half a cup of water, or even better, some of that homemade beef bone broth. If you are aiming for a thicker version, skip the extra liquid and simply smash up some pork rinds and stir them in. They will soak up the moisture and instantly add extra body. You can also add some bacon in place of the pork rinds. Let it all simmer gently for about 5 to 7 minutes, stirring occasionally until it thickens just slightly and all the flavors meld together. Then add salt to taste, and seriously, if you have any bacon bits on hand, add them now for that extra hit of smoky crunch. While the soup is doing its thing for those final few minutes, let's get the topping ready. Grab your pork rinds, place them on a cutting board and just smash them up with the side of your knife. We want those crunchy bits to go right on top for texture and crunch. Don't be too neat about it. Now we are ready to serve and enjoy. Ladle that creamy dreamy soup into a bowl and top it immediately with those pork rind croutons we just made. You can even optionally add a final sprinkle of extra shredded cheese on top. Serve immediately. This one hits hard. It's everything you want in a cheeseburger without the bun. And if you're ready to cleanse the plate but keep that cozy quick fix vibe going, then join me next for our final bowl. We are taking on the quick and savory carnivore chicken egg drop soup. And obviously, I found a way to make even that a little ridiculous. We are starting with about 225 grams of chicken cubes, which never looks like enough, right? So naturally we grab a few slices of bacon and then throw in an extra one for good measure. We also set aside 3 eggs. For the soup base, we combine 100 milliliters of water and 300 milliliters of beef bone broth. If you don't have chicken broth, beef works perfectly fine. That's the beauty of carnivore cooking. We just use what we have on hand. We've also got some cream cheese and butter waiting as backup for extra richness. First up, we chop the bacon into small pieces and get them in the pan. While the fat renders and the bacon gets crispy, we toss those chicken cubes right into the bacon fat. We let it cook for about 5 minutes, stirring occasionally, just letting the chicken soak up all that flavor. In the last minute, we hit it with a tablespoon of butter to keep it nice and juicy. Once the chicken is done, we carefully transfer it into the simmering broth. Now for the moment we've all been waiting for, the eggs. I had this weird vision for a modified egg drop soup. I didn't trust myself not to break the yolks, so I went out and bought a syringe. Yeah, a syringe. In my head, squirting the eggs into the broth would make it more controlled and more fun. And honestly, well, it did look pretty cool, even if it made 0 sense. Also, I was supposed to add the cream cheese before this madness, but I forgot. So just imagine I did it right. I let the soup rest for just a minute and poured it in the bowl. The little streaks of egg actually looked pretty good. To finish, I took those crispy bacon pieces and sprinkled them right on top. That's the best part. This soup turned out way better than my whole egg syringe experiment probably deserved. Alright, that officially wraps up the best 3 carnivore soups for this winter. Thanks for hanging out with me while I cooked, made ridiculous choices, and completely forgot the cream cheese. If you're new here and thinking, what is this guy even doing? Well, welcome to Meet Carnivore. That's how we do things. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll meet you here next time on Meet Carnivore.